welcome to the show.
Hi, Nitin. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here today.
I'm excited too, Mirena. And so to kick things off, let me ask you, for folks and viewers listening in and watching us who may not be familiar with you, would you be so kind to talk a little bit about yourself, your background?
Absolutely. So I'll take a quick, stop back in memory lane if you allow me just to give a little bit of background, especially for people that might be interested in starting their careers. So I actually started in marketing my career as a fresh grad. And then I went on to pursue a master's degree at London School of Economics in Management Science. And finishing that degree, I really wanted to go into marketing strategy. And I had a fellow classmate that had just been hired at Procter and Gamble. And she said they have this department that acts as an internal consultancy, and it uses data analytics and consumer insights to help them shape their marketing strategy or their sales strategy. And I'm like, that's exactly what I want to do. So I've been with Procter and Gamble now for 14 years in the consumer insights field. And for those that might not know Procter and Gamble, it's the biggest consumer goods company globally. And even if you don't know the company name, you definitely have one of the products at your home. So, or your kitchen or your bathroom. So we make brands like Tide, Gillette, Pampers, Olay, Pantene. So definitely products that consumers use every day. So, the insights roles at Procter and Gamble might look very different if you're working at our business unit or a customer team. And, I've been lucky enough to lead a variety of insights roles, from brand innovation and product strategy at our global unit in Geneva to, help lead category growth or commercial innovations for some of our biggest customers like Costco or Walmart. So my current role focuses more on shopper insights for the Walmart team. And I'm trying to help the team, address current shopper questions, but also design for the future. So foresee future shopper trends and, have a roadmap for category growth.
That's a great introduction, Mirena. Thank you for sharing that. I almost cracked up when you started introducing Procter and Gamble initially, because I was like, there's such a well-known brand and an amalgamation of different brands that it's hard to miss Procter and Gamble. Knowing about it, I think a lot of folks probably use it in their everyday lives. Different brands. So I thought that was really modest of you, and thank you for doing that. Internally, Mirena, when you are working in the insights functions and your team, and as you guiding your internal stakeholders, what does your leadership expect from you when they say "great job"? Can you please talk a little bit about that?
Yes, that's actually a great question. For me, it always comes down on delivering insights that drive action. So I'm very, adamant, even when I'm coaching, more junior insights managers, that we don't just give, a research report or a data analysis. We need to come with a point of view. So, from everything that we have learned, what is the recommendation for the business? How are we going to tell them to do something that will improve the customer experience or it will help us grow our business? So I think that's, crucial for me to have that point of view and deliver, true insights that will make a difference, right? And I think, to get to that stage, there are a few things, that need to happen beforehand. So one, I think, is, being very much aware of your business needs, the challenges that the business is facing, the goals that you have. So being very close with your stakeholders, be it marketing, sales, finance, and have these joint business goals and build your research plan all around them. And then is, having that trust, building that trust. Because if I'm recommending something, if I'm telling them, this is what you need to go do, they need to be able to trust you,
Yeah.
that you're making the right recommendation. So you really need to be the expert in your field and having, that relationship and that trust so people will listen to what you're recommending.
That's such a great point that you've raised, Mirena, and thank you for doing that. That is also the answer that I feel sometimes some of our peers in similar roles in research and insights in analytics are sometimes, faced with, or they're struggling with, is how to get and increase adoption of their insights, their work internally. I don't know if this has ever happened with you, but I've seen it happen with many of our clients where they'll do work, good work, but sometimes they're unable to get get the organization to act on it, you know. And I think what you said is really the key in answering that question as well, in really aligning yourself as researchers, as insights experts, with the business goals that your stakeholders have. I really like that you talked about that, because that is something we recommend to our clients as well, Mirena, especially when, we're working with other insights departments that are bringing us in to guide their stakeholders on a certain process or format that we specialize in. Our guidance always is, yes, you're bringing us in as experts and you want us to talk about how will you do this, but can we just spend some time early on talking about your what and your why for this project? What is it that you're trying to do, and why are you trying to do this? How are you planning to move the business needle on your end with this project, right? Because once we can understand that, not only are we aligning ourselves with our internal stakeholders, but what we're also doing is then, as experts, the research will get designed to address not just those research queries, but also those business queries. Would you
Absolutely.
agree?
Absolutely. And I think, you're raising a great point because it's something I've seen, even, in our company, these amazing pieces of work that, nobody has used because maybe they didn't ask for them, or you're presenting like a huge deck that has a lot of knowledge, but people cannot, tease out the two, three, five big insights that will help them take this piece of work and act on it. So I think, it goes a little bit both ways. First, aligning beforehand on, bringing your stakeholders in, making them really partners as a piece of this work, and having the clarity on, okay, once we do this work, this is what as a team we're going to do and implement. And two is our job as insights expert to tease out really the two, three key nuggets that they can take and run with.
Correct, correct. I completely agree with you. And just to give our viewers a little more granularity in this, the way to arrange or get that buy-in early on from stakeholders for them to tell you what are the 2, 3 key nuggets I am expecting to get, at the end of this work. The way to do that is what we call a 2-question strategy. The first is understand very clearly from your internal stakeholders what is the business or financial impact that this
Mhm.
work will make. Because ultimately, we have to justify the return on investment in research. So if you can get clarity on, okay, well, like someone says, I'm making this up, but someone says, we want to grow sales. Well, challenge them. How much more? 5%, 10%, 20%, 50%? And then tie the research design into achieving that goal. What insights do we need to get to give you that ammunition for your marketing and selling to achieve that goal? And then the second question, Mirena, that we ask or we advise our clients is talk about personal impact. That is something a lot of researchers don't do. But ultimately your internal stakeholders are people. If you can understand why they need this research, what are they going to do in their work with their teams in their unit, but how is also that important to them? Is that something, one time I asked that question to give our viewers a flavor for this. I asked a client, well, how is this important to you personally? We've spent a lot of time talking about the nuts and bolts of the project. And he said, Nitin, I got hired for this. This
Mm.
is what I need to deliver the company on. And this key insight or this study is going to help me do my job. So, when you get that kind of personal impact understanding, what you also get, Mirena, is that bonding and rapport with your internal stakeholders. Now they don't look at you as, someone who's not helping them, but as someone who's on their team, right? And
Absolutely.
and that really helps with the adoption and them taking your work and running with it.
Mm-hmm. Agree. Completely agree. That's a great point.
Wonderful. So, Mirena, moving on then, when we talk about helping our internal teams or helping the organization um, and helping them better understand the customer and the customer's journeys, can you please talk about your experiences in how you've leveraged customer journey work in helping your internal teams and your organization?
Yes. So as said, at Procter and Gamble, that can look very different, but I can give an example from a very recent piece of work that I actually led. So most recently, we wanted to really understand how the customer journey, or the path to purchase, as we call it, has changed post COVID. And I'll give a little bit of background on this one, right? So, you know it very well. During COVID, online business and share boomed, right? Everybody was shopping online, and we saw an unprecedented increase. So, after when we were started, easing out of the situation, things were opening up, everybody was expecting that online will decline, right? Or it will flatten out. This did not happen, right? It was still increasing at a rate of 6 to 10% depending on the category. So we really wanted to understand what are the habits of consumers that really stuck post pandemic, and how are they really shopping now, right? So the way we approached this was like a very, I will just say it was a massive project, because it was like enterprise, and it was like looking at across all the retailers in North America. So Walmart, Target, Amazon, grocery stores. So very big project. So I think the way we approached it is we broke it down in pieces, right? So first of all, we wanted to understand, know what we know, right? So we took existing studies that we had during COVID to see, what people were doing then. And we also looked at behavioral data, right? So our shopper panel data or our market data to really understand the trends that were happening in the market, as well as some other tools that we had to assess. And then, we wanted also, we saw, okay, with this as a base, what are the gaps? What are we missing? And then we wanted to bring some flavor, really understand the consumer stories and their life context and, what makes them shop the way they do right now, right? And so we did like a very comprehensive study, including diaries, mobile purchases, like mobile shop alongs, and so forth. That really helped us bring the story to life, as well as some in-depth interviews that help us add that color and create that empathy with our consumers. And this was very revealing for me to really see the fluidity of the current shopper journey, right? I'm sure you have seen it too, right? On how our lives have become more hybrid or fluid, and that is also reflected in our shopper journey. And I think the next step, after when you have like such a big piece of work, such richness of data, for me, the most complicated piece was, how do we create a simple framework, something digestible, something, um, easy to take and reapply and understand. And also bringing back what I was saying before, how do you help people take action, right? So we wanted not only to tell the story of the what is happening now in our, consumers' lives, what their journey looks like, but what can you, sales teams or marketing teams, can go and do about it? What are the friction points in that journey that can help us, if we solve for these, can help us improve the experience of the consumers and, grow our business or customer satisfaction?
That's a great example, and thank you so much for sharing those details. For the benefit of our viewers who may not have done an effort like this and are contemplating, I want to highlight a few things that I picked up on that I thought were really good. One was, I really liked your usage of mobile ethnographic work, because I think that is so key in getting insights that are in real time. And so that's something from a methodology standpoint, I would recommend to our viewers that anytime you're doing, especially an omni-channel or a shopper path to purchase, it is so critical to do some of the things that you spoke about in terms of this ethnographic work, shop alongs. We have some clients that go even deeper by doing eye tracking and biometrics
Mhm.
as part
Mhm.
of their paths to purchase. So, but putting it all together and then creating the kind of story lines that you had, Mirena, I think that is so powerful. And I will, and the reason I'm highlighting that for our viewers is, so many times we see paths to purchase efforts that are claiming to be omni-channel, but were only done based on one qual approach or a quant approach. And that's what I would recommend is, combining different formats like you did, I think is the key to really getting that uh, holistic 360-degree view of shoppers and their pain points.
Absolutely, because I think two things that I found that were critical in this piece of work, as said, is one, putting a lot of effort on really distilling these insights, putting a lot of effort on how do I, visualize and really understand the path to purchase. And in order to do that, having some hardcore data points, it's very important because people would ask, what percent does that? What percent of shoppers does the other thing, right? So having that perspective was super helpful. And the other piece that, help is I think you need both because the consumer stories actually, create empathy. And especially if you're presenting to, externally to a customer, I think they're very much more likely to respond well to a real human story, bringing, that context, like really understanding, you know, where they're coming from and why it is like this. So I think the combination of two can be super powerful.
That's such an excellent point you've raised, Mirena, because going back to your earlier example of using the mobile ethnographies, that is also very useful in capturing imagery and videos of shopper reactions in real time as they're shopping or they're using, the products. And so that also goes a long way. This has been our experience in our reporting with clients, where every report that has some audio visual snippets or imagery really helps stakeholders connect more empathetically, like you said. In fact, I would also like to add, since we're talking about really internal stakeholders connecting with the insights and using them, and empathy is a big component of that. We talked about business and financial impact as well. Here, something that I wanted to share with you, Mirena, and as well as our viewers is sometimes we've seen that with senior leadership, sometimes just knowing that X% of customers have a certain pain point sometimes is enough and sometimes it's not enough because they're seeing a lot of pain points. And as business leaders, they, also have to make calls based on budgets on which to fix first. Have you ever encountered that situation?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's, as you say, it's critical, right? Because, and it goes back to what we were discussing before on really understanding, what's on your leader's mind, right? What are your business goals and objectives? And as you say, like sometimes they need to make priority calls, right? So what do we go and solve first? So
Right.
I think that, goes back to our initial conversation on how do you get crystal clear on what are the business challenges that are most important, right? As you said, what will have the biggest financial impact, right? And then, go first and solve for those, because that's, where you will get more value for your money. And this is where you will make the biggest impact, right? As an insights professional.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Mirena. I think you've hit the nail on the head because if you are able to do that in front of your leadership and, speaking more technically, it could also just be what we've seen works for a lot of clients is we'll convert the pain points into that shoppers or customers are facing or experiencing in a certain journey stage. We'll convert it into what the financial impact of that is in terms of cost leakages or lost sales. And sometimes converting those pain points across the entire paths to purchase into their financial impact on the business also helps you in telling a more convincing story based on, to your earlier point about this is our viewpoint, this is why we should do this, because look, this is all the data backing this up, including the financial impact it's having on the business.
Absolutely. So for example, for, online or digital, if you can identify the biggest triggers of, cart abandonment, for example, right?
Yeah.
Uh, that would be, a great starting point. This will really help them, um, take action. And then, as you say, I think there are some things that might be within their control, right? And some that might be good to know for longer term strategy. And I think we need both, right?
Yeah.
I think you need to tell them a story that these are the things you can go and fix now. These are some bigger things you might not be able to influence them right now, but as you think of your long term strategy, you need to address them, else they will catch up on you.
Correct. Correct. No, I think that's wonderfully put. Um, Mirena, I know we're having a lot of fun, but I think we're almost at the end of our time. I wanted to ask you one final question. Given your rich experiences and especially the case study example that you shared, if you had the opportunity to do this type of path to purchase work again, is there anything you would do different?
Yes. So I want to say that, this was not as a straightforward process as I presented it. So I think we learned a lot of things along the way, and we redefined the project scope. So I have a couple of things that helped us, a lot. One I already highlighted, and it's, start with your what you already know, and pay a lot of attention on behavioral data. So I think this is crucial. As like, I feel like there's a lot of value on actual behavioral data and trends versus claim data. The other thing, that was crucial was the context. So when we started this project, we focused mainly on Walmart. So we said, okay, we want to understand the omni path to purchase for Walmart. But then, as we started to think and do the output of the project and what it would look like and the design, we realized that we cannot really understand the Walmart path to purchase in isolation. You need to understand, why is someone shopping at Walmart and not Amazon or Target or Kroger? So in the process, we said then we should be looking at all the retailers and really help us understand, what needs does this retailer serve, and what does, for example, Target do very well that Walmart doesn't, and it's an opportunity for us, right? So, having that context and looking, taking a more broad view, I think is key. And it's a mistake I see very often, even from seasoned researchers, that, they test their product in isolation without taking into account the competition or the broader market context, right? Same for the path to purchase. You need to look a little bit broader and really understand what is happening in the consumers' lives, and why do they select you or not select you among all the other choices. And the
I
third, and
yeah,
then
go
I'll
ahead.
wrap up, is, as said, this was like a very big, I led the project, but it was a very big team effort. So making sure you engage the right people and reach out to the people that will be activating the project in advance, right? So, we made sure to reach out to people working at different retailers, get their perspective and get their engagement early on. And that really helps, to bring some context from them and their perspective, but also, activation, because they're already engaged. They already feel like owners of this project.
I think those are great pro tips, and thank you for sharing those, Mirena. I wanted to just add one more comment. on what you said. I think activations are a big component they're almost the final stage of these types of projects when seen from a researcher's or insight standpoint. And our guidance to our clients always is also build in time to work with those activation partners so that they understand the story accurately, because they're not researchers. And so it's really important for if you're doing work with a third-party firm like ours, have that agency or your partner build in time where they are doing workshops or activation sessions with your activation partners, so that you don't see something 6-12 months out where you're like, that wasn't what the research said, but you see the organization moving in a incorrect direction.
Absolutely. I think, and that's the coaching I always have, that you need to carve same time for activation, if not more, as you did for your research, right? And especially, in big organizations, right? Because you need, as you say, to make sure you equip the people. They, as you very nicely said, they know the story and they know what to do with it, right? So you give them the tools and you equip them in order to go and do after that. So I think that's very crucial.
Wonderful. And with that, Mirena, we are at the end of our interview. Thank you again so much for coming on the show. I'm sure our viewers will pick up a lot of gold in your experience shares. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.